Hey, folks, check this out. We are with Ken Reihl. He is the CEO of the Greater Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce, which just keeps getting greater and greater. How are you, Ken? How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. We'd like to sometimes say the greatest, but maybe that's a little over the top. But we'll hold
Something to shoot for, right? Yeah.
Well, speaking of greater, how is this Ipswich incorporation happening? How's that going?
It's going very well. Thanks for asking, Heather.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for us. Ipswich is a big community, obviously. If you just look at the population, it's almost 15,000, it's 14 and change, and so it's our second largest community to Gloucester, and have a lot of businesses, have terrific, amazing open space with the trustees. Things like the Crane Estate and Appleton Farms and so many other incredible things to do there in town, and happens to be next door to where I live, so I know the community very well anyway. And it's exciting. The merger went really well. We've already had several events there, and right now we're putting together programming for 2022. So the businesses have been positive in responding to our programming and what we have to offer, and we're getting to know the municipal leaders and the schools, for that matter, because we work with all of our schools, and the feedback's been very good. So we're excited.
Oh,
Nice.
good. I was just shopping there actually last week with
You
my
were?
daughter. Yeah,
Well,
and I was at Lux. Is that how I say it? Luxe. Really
Okay.
nice little boutique. It was open. Their shelves were stocked. It was cute. We had a good time. And I was surprised in January that it actually was a little bustling there on is that Main Street, that little section? Yeah,
Market
right.
Market in Maine. Yep. Yep. So I'm glad to hear you say that, Heather, because that's what we try to do, is encourage all of our locals to shop locally, and they certainly have some great retail and also restaurants. We've got some wonderful restaurants in Ipswich, including a couple of nice places to stay too. The Ipswich Inn, we often frequent there because they're a part of the board leadership for the Ipswich Chamber. So we spend a lot of time with Ray.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Ken, we want to gauge the temperature in the business sector for our community too. So, the strange thing was, living through this pandemic where, a lot of retail had booming years last year. I mean, there were casualties as well, but I was surprised with how well some of them did. Any feel for how things are this time around?
It's so interesting, Corey, and you're exactly right. It wasn't just retail. So many of our businesses had good years, and frankly, surprisingly, a lot of businesses had record years. And perhaps it not too surprising some businesses had record years in 2020. And if you think about it, it's contractors, real estate, finance had very, very good years, and that continued right through 2021. But the surprise with the businesses that were down in 2020 also bounced back surprisingly well. That the trick was everybody had to work very hard under constantly changing circumstances, and then toward the end of the year, or I'd say even the middle, inventory became a real problem, and then of course staffing, and so we ended the year pretty well overall, and now things are sort of literally and figuratively cool. It's cool outside. It's snowing today. And the business picture, especially you think about sort of hospitality industry, is certainly, this is the slow time of year, and we're trying to introduce additional programming, to help with that. But almost every business I know is short-staffed and impacted by the pandemic because of all the breakthroughs. Most people have been vaccinated, but the level of breakthrough is just very surprising. We all today know many people who have had breakthroughs, and the good news is not many of them have been terribly sick, and some have been asymptomatic, so that's good. But it still puts a 5-day quarantine on our staff, and so that has impacted so many businesses, including the chamber. We've had people that have had breakthrough here, and so you're out for 5 days, and maybe you can work from home and maybe you can't. And then of course you have the family considerations, anyone in your family. So that's been a major dynamic, and the whole uncertainty with this surge. When are we going to come off the spike? the good news as of today, it looks like we are coming off. I mean, that was the headline in the Gloucester Daily Times today, is we're coming off it. And if you look at what's going on internationally, that should continue down, but who really knows? Are we going to level off again? Are we going to bounce back up? You know, with the business communities, we tend to be optimists. I'm certainly an optimist, you know, that we're going to continue to see this downward trend with the positivity rates, and following that then will be the hospitalizations, and ultimately the death rate will go down. And we'll get back to business. And so I think it's going to continue to be slow and very challenging for the next couple of months. We stopped doing in-person events this month in January, but we're going to get back together in February. And for people who, well, most of our communities have mask mandates, so you know we'll be masked up until those are relieved. And then people who want to wear masks after that, it's up to them, whatever they feel safe with.
Ken, the last time we talked, we were really talking about all the relief that was coming to small businesses. I believe that was what we were talking about the last time in the first wave of the pandemic. What's going on with that? Do you feel as if businesses may need a new round, or are they getting by? What do you think?
I think, especially again in hospitality, our restaurateurs are really hurting right now for staff and also inventory. Perhaps less so in some of our other business areas. PPP in particular was huge, as a lot of businesses were able to take those loans as grants. And even the EIDL, a lot of our businesses took the EIDL, and those are done. So you know, I think, yes, there are categories of businesses that could very much be helped by additional funding to help offset the continuing COVID challenges and the lack of workers, which are interrelated. Nobody really knows why we're not seeing more workers come back into the workplace, and we're all hopeful that will turn around again in the spring. But right now, there's a lot of uncertainty out there.
It's really interesting that you don't know either, because I keep asking, and I'm like, why aren't people? I mean, I understand the issues with COVID, but even before that, it seemed like healthy people were not coming back to work, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of people have a lot of reasons, and they're all valid. And so all of these have sort of come together, and we still have a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. Some are exploring other employment opportunities, and they're going to be successful, but not all of them. And so they're going to have to come back into some of those traditional jobs.
Yeah, it just feels like there are some permanent changes to how business is going to be done moving forward because of this, which is crazy. You know what I keep feeling? Once we hear like Fiesta is on, that might be the mental roadblock. People go, oh,
like
okay,
that.
You know. So I mean, that's
a
months
great
away.
bellwether.
Yeah, I think things like that, if those sort of festivals and events start to come back like late spring and into summer, that might be what people need, you know?
You know, I will say we ran all of our summer events last year. The only one that we ended up canceling was actually the Clam Fest in Essex, and it wasn't because of COVID directly. Indirectly, there were some challenges. But you know, Waterfront Festival, the block parties, Festival by the Sea, we ran them all. The challenge with the Fiesta last year was it was the first one out of the gate in June, and there was we're still coming out of the pandemic. It was still, you know, a very scary and uncertain time, and the city just was not comfortable doing it. And I get it. I think we're going to be in a different place this year, and so again, I'm hopeful that the Fiesta will happen.
Yeah. Me too.
Speaking of different places, how do you like your new quarters there?
Oh, Heather, we love it.
That's great.
And frankly, you know, we haven't been here. It's not so new anymore.
Yeah.
We moved in here in August of 2020 in the peak of the pandemic, when most businesses were closed. That was our move-in date, and it's just a wonderful place to welcome our visitors and our locals. You know, we do a lot of interaction with our residents, and of course our chamber members, and we have a beautiful conference room that's available for member and community use, and very nicely appointed staff offices, and allows us to grow a little bit internally. So it's just a pleasure working here, and and now they pulled the meters off the lot.
Yay.
We have a kiosk there. I don't know if that's good news or not. We're really not sure.
Okay, sorry.
Because we haven't been ticketed yet, but we have a meeting with the mayor soon, and that's on the agenda, is how we're going to manage that lot.
Yeah, I take that back, because I actually like the meters. So I thought you meant there was it was free parking. So if there's a kiosk.
No. Oh yeah, there's the kiosk.
Yeah, okay.
The
All right.
parking will not be free.
All right. Well,
Ken, I want to ask about visitors. How was tourism good last year? It felt like it was good. And how are things even in the off season?
It's funny, Corey, that this seems like old news, but we haven't talked in a while. And last year, again, hospitality generally did well. And we had a surprisingly strong visitor season. And it was surprising, of course, in part because of COVID. Nobody really knew if our visitors would come, but also there was no international travel. So it was a different type of visitor. It was a local drive-in visitor from around New England, because even people were not comfortable getting on a plane, even within the US. And so, yeah, we had some people from the Midwest and West, but generally our visitors were, within a couple 100 miles of the area, and we were successful with that. So we kind of developed a whole new visitor category in having people who just wanted to get away. They wanted to get out. They wanted to experience something local. Cape Ann, now Greater Cape Ann, has so much to offer, and the visitation experiences were terrific. And that's what's going to be so interesting about this year, is when people feel safe getting back on airplanes, we're going to start seeing our traditional visitor from the West, the Midwest, and internationally, on top of this sort of new visitor base that was created last year, more locally. And so we're optimistic. We're optimistic that we're going to see a good year this year. We're coming off this spike. We're optimistic that we're going to continue that downward trend, and that we got to get people back to work and get over the quarantining situation that we have here. But by the early springtime, March, April, that businesses are going to start to ramp back up, and we should be in the full swing of things, especially again in hospitality, by the time Memorial Weekend rolls around, which that's our unofficial start of summer.
Right. Nice.
So Ken, it sounds as if you've got some nice things to say about the business community, but do you have any specific, surprisingly happy stories, business stories that came out of the pandemic? Any sort of pivots or changes that were made that actually you feel like, oh, well, that was a good thing? Got anything like that?
Well, there's so many. The businesses that did well had to work so hard because of the changing circumstances. And I guess I continue to go back to the restaurant industry and look at what the businesses did through 2020 in extension of premises, as well as all the takeout that they developed, a whole takeout market that continued in 2021. If I think about some businesses here that are just close by the chamber, what Lenny did at the Gloucester House, and really just building blue collar and that whole outdoor dining experience, and what Corey did at Lobsterland and that incredible outside deck.
It's so
what
beautiful.
Anthony did at Tono and his extension of premises, not only on the street, but in the back parking lot area. Essex did something similar at Shays, a whole tented area on the river. Just amazing kind of creativity and a lot of hard work in trying to keep their businesses going. And as a result, they did well. Had to work really hard, but they did well. And most of those changes are permanent. So they basically extended their dining experience and their capacity, and they should be able to build on that. So I think there is some positive that came out of this. A lot of businesses are doing businesses slightly differently, and they should benefit from that going forward.
Yeah. Other places that pop up to mind are like Fisherman's Wharf, Gloucester, like the mobile fish markets. A couple of those things popped up, and delivery services. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been so interesting to see, and encouraging that most businesses, in fact, less than a handful, threw in the towel. Most recently, we're sad to see Connolly's close up. They've been a mainstay here in the harbor, and totally get it. That's the pandemic. That was in part influenced by the pandemic and worker shortages and just having a very difficult time operating here. But I think they are leaving their Boston office open, as I recall, which I was glad to see. But we're sad to lose them here in the harbor.
Yeah, that was such a tough loss for me personally, have to say. I love that business.
Thanks.
And I had understood that part of the main reason was that they were really here to supply restaurants, and that it was the impact of the restaurant industry on them that really had them close down their wholesale operation.
Yeah, it could be. I haven't heard that, but it wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah.
Especially now when the restaurant industry is down. Again, over the summer, it was a good summer, but
Right.
into the latter part of the fall, everything fell off very quickly.
Yeah, right.
Ken, what's the chamber have planned for winter and early spring?
Well, we're gearing up. We our big celebration is usually in January. We did postpone it to March, which was a tough call. I felt like we're right back in the same thing. We did the same thing last year, and we moved it to June. So the good news is we only moved it to March. That's our annual celebration where we welcome in our new board president, Caitlin Pizzeni. She's a young professional and just terrific with her husband Nick and two young children. And we thank our exiting board members. That'll be at the Bullport on March 10th. And then we go right into our programming with our networking events and our first big spring event. Well, actually, the next weekend is our big raffle called the Irish Sweepstakes. We're going to do it in Ipswich this year, which is very exciting. We'll be at the Hellenic Center. So that's a new venue for us. We're excited to experience that and to give them the promotional value. And then we go right into spring with our education fundraiser at Bass Rocks. And here we go. Again, we're looking forward for a great year.
And the thing is, and there's something big planned for at the new YMCA, like a wellness event or something, I think for early April too. This sounds exciting.
Yeah, that's a new one for us. Thanks for bringing it up, Corey. So we have a health and wellness committee. It's tremendous. I mean, everybody from Addison Gilbert Hospital to some CBD businesses and massage and yoga and sort of traditional and holistic approaches. So yeah, the committee got together and said, why don't we have an open house to basically demonstrate for the Cape Ann community all that there is to offer here in health and wellness on Greater Cape Ann. And that is at the Y. We were going to do it in April, but we just pushed it back to May.
Oh, okay.
And again, for COVID reasons. Helene Feely's been terrific over there at the Cape Ann Y. We're working closely with her. And the whole health and wellness community, everyone's invited, and we'll start to promote that shortly. So amazing group of organizations.
Nice. And if people want to learn more about the chamber, how can they go about doing that?
So pleased you asked. CapeAnnChamber.com. Go to our website, give us a call, and love to talk more.
Yeah, but Ken, it was great catching up with you. I'm glad you're doing well.
Corey and Heather, thank you as always. You guys are terrific.
Take care.
Interested in a sponsorship? Email sponsor@1623studios.org to learn more.